Good evening, Inspill Glimmers, and welcome back to another episode. Hiram was banned about 2 weeks ago, and we've had a few tournaments to look at to see how the meta's shaping up following that. So tonight, Drew and I are here. We're going to look at the meta. We're going to look at some of the decks representing those archetypes that did well in recent tournaments, and we're going to discuss what to prepare for the upcoming tournaments and set championships. Alexandru, welcome to the episode.
Hey, hey. So this is our live episode that is not live in the end. Lots of stuff happened,
Yeah,
but really happy to be here tonight.
exactly. So let's jump right into it. I'm gonna borrow a little visual support from our friends at Ingborn Heroes. Let me just bring that up. There we go.
So you were touching upon the ban of Hiram about 2 weeks ago. Hiram Flaversham in for the Sphere. So it was a huge shakeup for the meta. We talked at length about it with Sailor. We played some games post ban, and we kind of everybody noticed that the meta is now kind of wide open, right?
Yeah, and it's showing in the numbers from like week 7 is last week. So there's still quite a few unknowns, more tournaments that we're going to look at that are not represented here. But we can see that like 5 decks have about a 10% or more representation in the tournaments they looked at, with some other making very good showings. And what I'm especially happy to see is almost 10% of random rogue decks making an appearance there.
Yep. So, uh, as you might very well see, people have reverted back to the default boogeyman of the after blue being the boogeyman of the meta for set 6 and 7. Now we're going back to red purple.
But at the same time, like the day Hiram was banned, I remember seeing all the memes everywhere. Diablo! Diablo everywhere! It's good. Wait, it's like this card is barely 10% of the represented meta for that weekend.
Yeah, the deck is fairly good. To be fair, I
Oh,
played
yeah.
a tournament post ban with not this card. It was a green steel deck, but it still felt very powerful. Diablo is still a heck of a card. Like it's
But people
still,
know how to play against it.
and that's why I want to talk about red purple. I remember Sailor posting on X about it, like the innovation from the German teams about red purple. Um, I remember seeing the new list with Peter Pan Shadowfinder, with Maui Half Shark, because why not? It's such a great card. That's now about $100 Canadian. So uh,
Woo!
you have like just incidental evasives that are so good at dealing with Diablo in this deck. We might look at a few lists, but we'll
Sure.
just
Do you want to go into red purple right away?
yeah. Let's go.
So let's find it.
So because
Hiram did nothing wrong. So this is a deck that finished second at last weekend's Easter Enchanted Bonanza. It was a 94 player tournament, 88 player
84,
tournament.
yeah.
So finished second, and here, as you were saying, like we see the Peter Pans, we see the Lumieres, one copy of Yago, a Finders Keepers. Like it's kind of a wild ride, and the return of the Queen's Castle.
Yep. Well, as a one-off, but it's still a very good threat. Now that the meta is kind of trying to go, well, if you assume that the meta is going a bit smaller for Diablo slash discard decks that are not very good at dealing with locations, um, this is a great choice. You see here, like most of your characters are evasive. Your four Maui sharks are evasive. Your genies are evasive. Your Yago is great and is evasive. You have a place of Elsa's that is evasive, and a place of Peter Pan's. Like this is really bothersome to deal with for like steel decks.
Yep. And your Genie, your Yago, your Shark are all also Rush. incidentally, if you have a Peter Pan on board.
Yeah, like having Maui Shark challenge the turn it comes in is so great. Like everybody's been talking about it. It's been the talk of the town, but it's making that value right away with your finders keepers and your friends on the other side. Even brawl, even just like recurring a brawl and brawling something on the other side if you're playing against like discard or I don't know, Steelsong or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Feels great.
great, great tools indeed.
And like the deck is very clean. I like the numbers of four ofs. The one ofs are very, I want to say, elegant as they are. You see the one of Queen Castle, the one of Finder Keeper, and the one of Yago. It's the kind of deck building I really really like in general.
I'll
Where
be honest, I'm surprised about the one of Yago, because in other lists he was a 3 of, a 4 of. Seeing him downgraded to being a 1 of was surprising a little bit.
I think here the list is a bit lower to the ground because of the Lumieres. The Lumieres is not like a mainstay of all the lists. I've seen
Hmm.
a lot of lists looking like that without Lumieres, more Yagos, more of other pieces. But I think this is a very focused list. It knows what it wants to be doing. Uh, it's I think it's really well built, and that's why I
Yep.
like it. Also, it did well, so it's kind of
No,
a
of course,
testament
finished
of
second. Like,
the
it's hard to complain about a list that did well. And
yeah.
to be fair, I do think the Lumieres do play better against the other red decks, like utilizing Sisus and stuff like that. It's harder to deal with when your Rabbit, your Elsa, your Genie are all 3 power and 3 power, and all of a sudden, like, you can brawl them, you can Sisu them. Like, it's more troublesome.
Yeah, it's really good, especially that blue decks are kind of not playing the ice block sapphire coil
Yep,
route. So at this point, your Lumiere kind of protects all of your things against other red cards.
exactly.
So we can go ahead with the next thing that was most represented during the weekends, except if you have something else to say about the red purple here.
No, I wanted to jump into red blue, so Ruby Sapphire,
Yep.
and I wanted to address something really, really quickly because I know we're going to hear about it. The list we decided to talk about is not DKP's list.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on DKP's list really, really fast and explain why we're steering a bit away from it. It's still fairly similar, don't get me wrong, but why we're steering away from his list specifically.
Yeah, I think I chose another list of blue red. Just I found that the other list had some more interesting choices of cards. It felt like it was doing more. I understand why all is found is there. There's a combo route where if you have the nuts, you can just curve out into just winning the game out of nowhere. I've been explained about it because I wasn't seeing it when I saw
Mm-hmm.
the original list, and I was like, okay, so if you go this into this, and you play your 4 drop on 3,
Three.
and then on turn 4 you all is found. You're basically like so ahead.
How do you all this found on turn 4?
You just ink one more.
Oh, you literally just play it?
You just hard cast it.
Okay.
So like you hard cast it into maybe just like having a Maui with playing another action the turn after and whatnot. I understand it sounds sweet, or
Eh.
it kind of enables also like hard casting a Sisu on turn 5,
Yeah,
but like
I
it's
guess.
it's it is what it is. That's what I
Yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
say. It feels Win Mori, which is your list is kind of, I want to say, it's still called control. It's a lot more. It's a lot meaner than
Yeah.
the CISO on Ice list that we used to see back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
you really want to be challenging with Maui, half shark. You have a whole lot of make dark manners that you just want to slam before you be prepared, and so
Yeah. So that brings us to the actual list
yeah.
that we selected, which is a list still from Easter Enchanted Bonanza, made top 8. And the key differences is they removed the 3 All Is Found and put in 2 copies of Kita and I think the Let It Goes?
No, the Let It Goes were there. They
Yeah.
just played on some
They
other
played on some numbers
quantity.
for the rest, okay. But yeah, they introduced Kita, which probably is one of my favorite cards of the set, one of the sleepers that were awakened through the Hiram ban.
Yeah, I was.
And I'll let you go on it, to be
Yeah,
fair.
because like I know you like the card a
Yeah,
lot. You
okay,
played a
so
lot
I
with it.
like,
I haven't played with it yet, but
okay.
I was
So,
excited. I was really
so
excited
her
about it.
ward is like amazingly powerful in the current meta where people want to like they know how this deck plays. They know you're trying to ramp onto into they're playing your 4 drop into developing from there. So a lot of the steel decks are waiting. They have their Cinderella if they're Steelsong. They have their Bell if they're Blue Steel. Like they have something that's gonna sing Let the Storm Rage on or Strength of a Raging Fire on your 4 drop. They're ready to, and then you Kita in its ward.
Yeah,
And they look at it and they're like, well, what am I supposed to do now?
but also like what I want to touch upon is like all the setup plays you can do with your Kita. Like we were talking about the setup play with All Is Found, where you
Yep.
were kind of trying to Sisu on turn 5 and just like roll around in value. Well, I kind of feel the same about the Kita. Like I feel it gives you more value because instead of just like taking stuff from your discard pile and putting it in your inkwell, you card select from the top.
Yep.
So it's not card advantage. It's like it's not Hiram by any means.
No, it's card filtering.
Yeah. So you're gonna ramp with her, but also you're gonna kind of decide, and you're gonna dig not super deep. It's just 2 cards deep, but it's still like it feels like develop your brain, and how far I'll go.
And the thing is, oftentimes your opponents, especially if they're in colors that want to like remove your stuff through steel, they don't want to rush their 3/3 into your 3/3. They want to gain advantage from it. They want to keep tempo. They want to keep their cards. And so she might stick on the board 2 to 3 turns. And there, her filtering turn after turn after turn is basically getting a smaller how far I'll go every single turn and deciding every time which card you're keeping on top, which cannot be discarded. Like there's a saying in Magic: you can't tot seize the top of the deck. Uh, you can't discard the top of the deck. So this card against the discard matchup is really good because you get to keep your influential play for the next turn on
You,
top, knowing what it is.
you're kind of protecting your be prepared or your Maui half shark or
Yeah,
whatnot. Like if your hand is low, which it will be, you're not running Hiram anymore. You don't have infinite card advantage from there. Like you're protecting very elegantly your very central pieces.
and this deck, for having played a version of that for the past few weeks, really, really annoys both the discard and the Steelsong players
Yeah.
because you're running on top deck most of the time, so the Steelsong player doesn't want a whole new world because you're going to demolish them. And then the discard player, it's similar. They have all their discard effect, but you don't have cards. You you,
Bridge
you
jump feels
shuffle,
awful.
and even Diablo, like, oh, I'm gonna look at the top 2 and put one in my head. Oh, I didn't draw it. I'm gonna look at the top 2 and leave one there. I'm going to look at the top 5, put one in my head. You're never drawing cards for per se with this deck. In this one you have Popsicle and Tamatoa, but
You can sequence it for having your big Tamato popsicle plays after dealing with the Diablo, you know.
Exactly.
So it's
And they really quickly turn out with hands that are like, well, discards the no cards you have in hand, yet you still see 5, 6 cards a turn and get to the good stuff.
and that's the thing. Like historically, this matchup was always like kind of good against Steelsong. It was sometimes rougher against discard. That's the thing. When you're drawing infinite cards with Hiram, and they had infinite gas to make you discard, like it was kind of a war of attrition of do I draw more than they make me discard? Am I gonna like deck out or something?
Is their
It
Diablo gonna just keep them up to pace as much because I draw so much, they're gonna draw as much? Like,
Yeah, it was an interesting war of attrition. Now it's not even a question. You're not giving them much value of their Diablos, of their Prince Johns and whatnot. So the matchup is incidentally very very good. I feel
and their whole deck dies to big Sisu.
indeed.
Because Muses, Prince John, and Diablo both die to a big Sisu. If you can land there by turn 6, like they have
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. No need for all is found on turn 5. You can just confidently drop your 5/4 that quest for 3 on turn 6, and you're still gonna run away with the game quite easily.
Quite often. Stabilize with a pirate's life, everything's well.
Yeah. So this is like the second most represented deck. I feel that it is still gonna be very very popular. People that have been playing control lists are still kind of at home with it. Like they are play patterns that we have seen before, and we are quite used to.
Yeah. It's still a different kind of control, though.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Which keeps things fresh. Also, like I know the Hiram ban was very polarizing and whatnot, but
Was
I
it?
I mean, like you have to see what people are saying on X and whatnot. Like
Oh, no, I know.
it's nuts. But I cannot feel bad that we're discussing and we're playing stuff and we're trying stuff. Like I I remember the beginning of the meta and it was trying to beat Blue Steel, which
Well, it was.
like it was another kind of challenge. I like it as a competitive player, but I can understand why people that are, I want to say, semi-competitive or even casual would not like this environment of game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, our third archetype is coming back from the dead. Probably the biggest winner in the Hiram ban.
Yeah,
Steelsong.
Steel Song, and this is a list that I've kind of like curated and like I sent it to you because we were talking about the deck after playing it on one of
Yep.
our lives, and we're very very unhappy with what we played that night in Steel Song, and we're like, it feels like you need some kind of board wipe for grab your sword. It feels like you need some kind of board control, like with bigger stuff like Ariel that doesn't die to Maui Half Shark, with some kind of Cinderellas and whatnot. So we found that this list was very close to what we like brainstormed on
Yep.
that night after closing the cameras. And like I was super happy that someone came up with the same conclusions as we were.
Yeah, and like my son's been playing the version we theorized, so very close to this.
Yeah.
And he's been doing like 3 O's and 2 1s at league, so the deck definitely performs better than the one we tested did.
Hmm.
But yes, like Steel Song, very much back from the dead, especially with that Ariel Sonic Warrior in there.
Finally getting justice.
I mean, that 3 damage added on to every song you play really does a lot of work. And what was once a fringe card of having the world's greatest criminal mind in Steel Song now is like one of the key cards of the deck.
Yeah, because back in the day, you kind of were running one to try and uh, deal with the Tamatoa that would come out of
Tamatoa, the Maui.
Yeah, especially Tamatoa, which was very problematic with like 8 willpower. I remember I was always like, if I knew I was playing against blue steel or blue red, I was not trying to ink my world great criminal mind as quickly as I was in other matchups where I knew it was probably
Yeah.
irrelevant. Because you're not playing a version with Queen commanding presence, right?
No.
So you cannot just cheese your opponent of like, oh, I'm pumping your guy and then I'm destroying him. But this is really important to deal with. Like now we have shark. This is the biggest target you're gonna get with it, and especially like you have other good songs that deal with it too. Like you have this is why I love the split of three, and then along came Zeus with one. Grab your sword, because you gotta have the Zeus for
Oh
the
yeah, you
shark.
need the Zeus.
Like I always felt when I was playing shark decks last season that every time I was slamming a shark, my opponent on generally on purple steel was
Oh, they
just
always
going
have it.
like they were always going, yeah, just Zeus it. I'm like, stop, just let me win, please. Yeah. So
But no, it's and against like some of the drawier decks, so some of the purple decks, decking out the opponent is a reality right now against like Ruby Amethyst and stuff like that. They draw cards with every single character, meaning they are leaving themselves vulnerable to mill.
So yeah, it always was a plan. Generally, it was a plan I was favoring a lot against against blue red CCO and ice decks.
Yep.
This it was most times how I could go and get that match win with the deck because I've played a whole lot of like people know me by now. They know that mostly I play Green Steel and Steelsong. Those
Yep.
are my jam. I'll play other stuff because I try to stay as prolific as ever. I don't want to like I'm not as much of a specialist as like Zan was with the Green Steel back in the day, or Sailor was with the Sisu on Ice,
Yep.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I still try to keep my horizons open. But it is one of my favorite decks that I always come
They're fun to your
back to.
heart.
Oh yeah, and like we have a 2K coming up in Quebec in about a few hours. I'm sorry, like the stress starting to set in of like, am I going to play this or am I going to play? We can segue into the next deck this way, even though it's one of the lower placed on our list.
Emerald Steel?
Exactly,
Sure.
you know it. So I selected this deck because it was building upon one of the lists from Germany. It was called Emerald Steel Clarabelle deck.
Hmm.
It was running more Clarabelles. It wasn't running Ursula Deceiver of All back in that version. There were some choices. I feel I like this version a little more because the removal suit was better suited at dealing with sharks. Like we see again, Zeus's the version from 2 weeks ago had like four Brunos, no Zeus, which was a choice. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say. But yeah, and like you see two Clarabelles, you don't need the third one. I think you can just try and spice up. Like Pluto is a choice for sure.
I was about to say, like, that Pluto is definitely
I,
a
I
decision, but, protects against the Maui, protects against.
I would definitely just play something like I like my shift lines,
Yeah.
especially when you're a morph deck. Uh, Anything from an Ariel Sonic Warrior or Cinderella Stout Hearted, that would be one of that would be my choice. I would,
Or a Bagheera. Like, I've found Bagheera to be very serviceable, to be
yeah,
honest, as a bodyguard.
yeah, for sure. Like it kind of feels the same role as the Pluto in that spot where I like to be more proactive with the mods I do, and this is a very reactive card. It protects your board. It reacts to what your opponent is doing on the other side of the table. Generally, a shark or something out
Yeah.
of red purple. But yeah, I think this deck is really strong. One of the really good additions from Arceus Island is the Pete Space
I
Pirate.
was about to say, like, having played against versions of this deck, when you're playing blue red and it's Pete into Pete into Pete, the game is slipping away because usually by the time they play the Pete turn 3, you're planning on singing How Far I'll Go. And then they shift the Pete and you can't sing again. And then they play another small Pete, and like your whole game plan relies on actions on that deck. So it's like, ugh, what am I gonna do with that?
Yeah, this is why it's one of my favorite decks right now. Like you can either like Pete locking your opponent either in blue red or in Steelsong
hmm
feels so strong. Like they can't do anything about it. And if you're not doing that, and sometimes you're just doing one into the other, just like shifting Diablo turn 2 into Pete locking feels
Yeah, it's
like very dominant, very, very dominant.
it
So
gets oppressive really fast.
yeah, I know you kind of dislike these kind
Oh
of
no, I don't. It's a it's a good challenge to handle, and to be fair, my version of the deck is still able to navigate that
yeah.
fairly well. Thanks to like Nikita being able to ramp even without the songs, and the coil package that I still kept in my version. That means that I can be like, okay, sure, I'm gonna like ramp with Kida. That puts a card in the ink. I can coil your Pete, and then another one, and then Big Sisu.
Yeah. No, I just remember having some of like the best starts on stream
Oh
sometime
yeah.
against you, and you were just like, I saw your face singing a bit, and I was like, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I mean this card sucks. Like we need it in the game because we don't have counter spells, we don't have reactive stuff, and so much stuff enters play and does something big. So we
Yeah.
need this card in the game as a way to keep certain strategies from just being broken. But being on the receiving end of a perfect discard start still majorly sucks if you don't have like good removal in your deck to answer it.
I,
So,
I really like that you mentioned counter spells. It's like it makes me feel that I'm playing this game's version of Blue
oh yeah,
White Control.
that's what it replaces because that's how you're denying your opponent the ability to play their cards.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And like, yeah, I don't think I have much to say else about the deck except that uh, something that the version from 2 weeks ago was doing, and I was really keen on. They had a one of Lucifer, the 2/2 for 5 uninkable from set 2 that
Yeah. I remember him.
makes the opponent discard 2 cards or an action. It's really good with the muses. It's really really fun.
It is like I remember you using it and all. I just don't know how situational it is. Like it's one of those cards where, as long as your opponent has cards,
Yeah,
but he's kind of bad afterwards. He's like a 2/3,
he's a 2/2.
2/2. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, no, it's not great. It's the only reason it's exciting is that it's small enough to be bounced
oh yeah, like
by the
if you can
muses.
get him on curve, he can do some work. But if you don't, and you get him late game when the opponent has no card in hand, it's like, well, here's 5 mana for a 2/2.
Yeah, but again, you cannot be playing this into this version. I feel because you're so pressed for uninkables.
Yeah,
You're like on 14 if I count correctly. Uh,
or
fi-
a 12, yeah, 14.
yeah, 15 is probably the spot, the maximal spot I would want to be
And
getting
it's a
to.
high cost, like it's a 5 drop, and you already have the two Zeuses and everything else is 3. Like they're high cost on incubables.
Yeah. So definitely a great list of this. I invite you to go see the list from 2 weeks ago because where it shifted is you were not playing Ursula Deceiver of All. This it was built a bit different, but you
Mhm.
have like a lot of space to just sprinkle in what you like about the
Oh
deck.
yeah. Which brings us to Purple Steel. So Purple Steel, good representation, I think, fourth most represented deck during week 7. I know you're not too keen on the archetype right now,
It was
but
a deck I didn't send you before our video tonight.
no, I know, but it's like it's well represented, and I know you're not too keen on it, but at the same time, it is to a degree well positioned in the sense that its natural enemy is basically gone, and it can draw all the cards you could ever wish. So if it's a game that's won by card advantage, you're gonna win with Steel Purple. So I do feel it's able to hold its own to a degree.
Yeah, my problem with it is I always feel when I play against, because I never really played Purple Steel. I know our friend Patrick,
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Cote, devoted, did very well with it in set 6 at the Continentals. Uh, the thing is about the deck, I always feel is like it's being in the middle spot between red purple, which is going bigger. You're leaning more into like the very mid rangey grindy plan, and what was in last season's meta of a diggity hole, like with Calhouns and Docks and whatnot, which is like your steel aggressive deck. And I just feel that steel, by its
Disagree
definition,
with you here.
the what?
I disagree with you here.
Yeah, but
Like,
I'm just gonna finish my idea. Is
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
that steel, by its definition, is not a great aggro color. I understand how the tools are used work to work in those decks, like in Diggy Diggy Hole, in Purple Steel. I just feel that you're not getting the most of the color.
Yeah, I
But
just don't feel you're looking at the deck the right way, to be completely honest. Having played quite a bit of Purple Steel, uh, it's not an aggro deck. It's as mid-rangey as it gets. It is like the four docks is probably what makes a lot of people think like, oh, it's an aggro deck that needs to refill. But really, the deck has a lot more removal in its mist, and is really trying to win like the middle game. And right now, it's probably the single best equipped deck to deal with the rise of locations we're seeing. Because between the crabs and the foxes, you have the best location removal tool, and then with Elsa, you can like exert almost anything when they play it. You can exert the shark before he can attack. You have a lot of evasives in there. You can move counters with the bell. I'm not 100% on the two fire to cannons and four strengths, and that's it in terms of steel removal. But like decks, uh,
I definitely would want some number of Zeuses. No,
I think so. I would also like more libraries. Like I was more, uh, I preferred libraries to ducks personally,
yeah.
and probably a Zeus or two. Yeah,
The thing is, you're so pressed for an Inkables again.
not when
Uh,
you remove ducks.
yeah, yeah, that's the thing. Like I always struggle playing a deck that plays for ducks. Like I played a bit of Diggy Diggy Hole when preparing for Continentals last
Hmm.
season, uh, and like it felt okay because I understood how the deck wanted to operate. It was very aggressive, and that is my kind of gripe with how this deck is built.
Diggy
Uh,
Diggy Hole was really aggressive. This one a bit, but like to me, Purple Steel is a mid-range deck at its core, and the fact that your two drops of choice are Calhoun and Elga are really, to me, like cementing that vision. Because if your two drops are removal, you're not trying to win the race.
Fair enough. Like another like that's the thing. The spread of two drops is so large. I want to say, like you have Calhouns and Elgas on one hand. You have Docks, and you also have Smee. The Smee is there like to run and maybe like trade on its last leg. I want to say.
I mean, trade, be bounced by the Fox. There's a lot of things you can do with That's Me.
Yeah, like I definitely I would like to be proven wrong this weekend at the 2K and see Purple still doing well. I just like probably this list comes from the Face to Face 1K
Yep.
from last weekend, and Face to Face is basically local to us. I almost went. The only thing is like they changed the date from Sunday to Saturday, so like I'm off on Sundays, not on Saturdays, and I didn't want to take a day off for to go play that. So yeah, like this version that we're looking at right now, maybe I would change some stuff to believe it a bit more in it. Like we said, maybe include a couple
Of Zeus's.
Zeus's. Uh, like
And I know you haven't played as much so far this season, but the Giant Cobra is deceptively good because people forget it.
I played against this in Sherbrooke about the 2 weeks ago when I went for the winner box,
Yep.
and that's the thing. Like I played against about the same deck. Like I don't know the numbers. Like what was different, what was the same, but like okay, I was on Green Steel, and it's a matchup that's I want to say fairly easy. Um, but yeah, it was just kind of easy. Like the snake was actually a big part of like a problem, but also when you're playing against steel, you're just gonna point any small removal at it and deal
Oh
with
yeah,
it. So
you're going to remove it, but it's still 1-2 lore on entry. Like this closes games is what I meant. Like
fair
the
enough.
amount of time you're going to forget that they can have, like, you're going to look at their board, they have two cards in hand, they don't have 8 ink, you're like, okay, they can't goat, or they can't, like, you've counted a bunch of stuff, and then they just, well, Giant Cobra this card? You're like, ah, crap, forgot that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It goes a lot faster than just like having to account for goat bounce goat, which is like 10 inks.
Yeah, also,
Minimally.
it's like,
There's no snake here, right?
it's a 3-drop. There are no snake, no.
So yeah, it's an 11 ink play at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right.
that leaves us with basically two decks that are also coming from the face-to-face 1K.
Yeah. Well, one of them I want to mention that is gaining in popularity. Like we were talking with our group from Sherbrooke in our group conversation. It's Blurple.
We've seen a lot of people looking to buy some Hades because Blurple is making some headway. And even in our testing, we've seen that Blurple is doing fairly well right now.
Yeah, and
It
like,
is well positioned.
and I want to shout out to Etienne Germain, who won with this list in Montreal. He's one of the guys from Sherbrooke. He's been playing Blurple for like ever since set one, and like he's in heaven right now. His deck is so good; it performs so well. He has like not top eighted an event for a little while now. So
And I'm curious. I don't remember what that Anna does. I haven't really seen her yet. Support when you play this character. Chosen, opposing. Let me.
we can just go
Yeah.
upwards.
When you play this character, chosen opposing character can't ready at the start of the next turn. Okay, cool.
It's interesting just to like keep a shark frozen and whatnot. Yeah, I'm quite surprised that this version that he brought to the face to face didn't play.
The big Elsa?
Eight drop Elsa because
Yep.
it's one of his like favorite cards in the game. I was like, what are you doing, man? You're not playing your pet card, but I understand why. Like Hades is doing like a lot of the job. You have snakes and you have foxes to bounce your Hades, and you have like a ton of ink to work with
Oh yeah,
later on in the game. Uh, I want to say like I remember playing on stream with you and like just bouncing a Hades and you were just like, oh god, this is very like barsome.
that's a threatening play. Yeah, because it's safely in hand. It's gonna come back next turn. You know your whatever you play is not gonna stick,
And it's like a
but
very
it's still surprising because you
it
look at that. There's like 10 uninkable. The deck has the space to run an Elsa or two.
yeah, I don't think it was the fact of the matter. I think he just wanted to be a little lower to the ground
Yeah, fair.
with his threats. Like he's really banking on the Bell plan of like shifting
Yep,
like playing
shifting
Bell
3 cost into 5 cost.
yeah. So it's a very strong play. Like you're just gonna put some damage onto I don't know a genie or something or an Elsa 5 drop and just like pitch it on something else feels
Oh yeah.
very good. So
To be fair, I would have cut a goat to put an Elsa. So like I wasn't cutting the bells.
yeah no, but like I was mentioning the bell as why it's lower to the ground
Yeah.
compared to what he was doing. Uh, but yeah, like the deck is also very malleable and flexible. I've seen him play like a bajillion permutations of this deck ever since I see him in tournaments. So yeah, I think now that it's good, I think it's slowly becoming that kind of because you have two kinds of control. You have the more proactive control, and then you have the more reactive control. And this is more of the I want to say reactive control kind of thing where you build towards a big end game. I
Yeah.
remember playing that on stream against you and like being able to bounce Elsa to be sure that anything that you would play on the next turn, I can exert it and challenge, or do the same with Hades to just remove anything that you might come up with and like lock your opponent out of the game, basically.
Basically.
So so it's more of
Until they, Pirate's Life into gain less.
that's the thing. Like this, you're mentioning the other kind of control deck that is present right now in the metagame, which is the more I would say proactive one, where
Yeah.
you're gonna slam your 4 drop on turn 3, and you want to sing with it and just develop your ink really early on, with and like deploy manners to be able to rat the board and then rebuild and
Yeah, it's a control that still tries to win the game. It doesn't necessarily want to play that long of a game. It's almost mid-rangey control.
Well, we were calling it back in the day. Like it was not exactly the same deck, but like
No.
I remember Kevin calling it blue red aggro.
Yeah, blue-red aggro. It wasn't aggro, but it was definitely mid-range.
We were just going like under like
Yeah.
regular blue red decks, and then we can
We have
segue
one
to
final deck. So we were talking at the beginning that almost 10% of the decks are rogue archetypes. Not represented, not big enough to show up on the radar, but still they're still able to thrive a little bit. And one of the decks that has been doing that since the beginning of the set is Chernodog. So the Lady in the Tramp style Ember Emerald lists.
so
And
so we played a bit of this on stream
mhm.
in the last weeks, but then I was really surprised 2 weeks ago when I went to Sherbrooke and I've seen Clara bring Clara Questing Queen
Yep,
TCG. She's been on the channel quite a
for
few
set
times.
reviews.
Yeah, and she had a very spicy list that is here showcased on screen.
Yep,
So it
top
made
8 at the face-to-face event.
yeah, she top aided the face to face event. She was the finalist in the Sherbrooke tournament I was
Hmm.
mentioning. Lot like it was something. Before I delve into the list, I'm just going to go like a bit of story time. She had the perfect opening. She was playing against Blue Red, the DKP list. Our friend Nick Bellan was
Okay.
playing it, and like she had the perfect opening. Like I think she had a Clarabelle on turn three, and then I'm gonna explain how you can have a Clarabelle on turn three out of that list, and then just like he like the blue red deck was on the ropes. Like he had to draw a sequence of exactly A, B, and C, and he drew A, B, and C, and like
Yeah.
got out of the jam. But we were like baffled. We were like, you did not deserve this game. Well, you fought really well, and like you drew everything you needed, but like the game was so much in the favor of like Chernodog.
So walk us through the list. Tell us how you can Clarabelle in turn 3.
It's quite easy actually. So the list, like the pivotal card of the list is Zero to Hero. It's a two drop uninkable song that says you can reduce the cost of your next character by the number of characters you have on board. So
Just bring it up here. There we go.
so yeah. So it's gonna reduce your next character by the number of characters you already have in play. And then if you look at the list, it's a lot of one drops. A whole bunch of one drops. You have four of Clarabelle, the small one that destroys an item. You have four daisies. You have four ladies. You have two Nalas, and you have a three of Pluto, which is basically for our Magic playing fans, a Bird of Paradise.
Yep.
So the lines where you can turn three Clarabelle is basically either you start with you have to start with a Clarabelle, I think,
Okay.
into two other one drops, into a sorry, I'm getting carried away. Sorry. That's not exactly how it
No, you
works.
need the 2-drop because you need him to sing, I think.
Yeah, you need a two drop to sing. So you're going. Okay, no,
So
you have to start with a
Clarabelle
Pluto.
into a 2-drop.
No, you have to start with a Pluto.
Okay.
Okay, so you Pluto into two drop and a one drop, preferably a Clarabelle, and then on turn three you have three ink. You can probably play. You can just sing the Zero to Hero
Yep.
and exert the Pluto. So now you have a reduction of
4.
three plus one of the Pluto, plus your three ink, so you can play your seven drop. Either it be a Clarabelle or a Stitch.
Huh.
So you see it's kind of a convoluted way of doing it, and sometimes you can do it a bit quicker or more proactively by shifting onto a Clarabelle. I think that's how you do it with the start of a Clarabelle instead of a Pluto. You play the Clarabelle, you play your two drop. You have to, I think, play another one drop. You sing, and then you have the five ink to shift onto your Clarabelle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's the thing, because you're kind of mixing two mechanics that are strong in the game, like cost reducing, which we talked about in other lists, like the Mufasa lists, where you were playing docks and also Plutos and whatnot, and
And
you're
Gaston
also
and
mixing
stuff.
that with like shift lines, which also is a cost reducer. So mixing that together gives you a very strong board presence early on in the game, and like it's hard to deal with a 5/6 that draws a bunch of cards, or a 4/7 that also draws a bunch of cards. Because if like the thing is to get bodies on board, so that Stitch is always gonna draw cards. And obviously, like you have a bunch of one drops, you're playing some Chernobyls just for like value, and it can be bothersome for non-red decks to deal with. You are muted right now.
True. It's a big 9/9. He's going to be buttersome. He's going to be hard to remove. Uh, he's also pain in the butt usually to come out if you don't have all those characters in the yard or if you have two in hand. So, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the two here, but I'm sure the list is doing well.
It's also
I
because you need to get the characters back into your deck because you're sifting through the deck with like the tramp, the 7-drop tramp.
mhm.
Like you're sifting through your list really really quickly, and sometimes enables it quite early on.
Yeah, if you're able to play him early, like my experience with him is, and with the zero to hero, it's probably easier.
Yeah.
But the deck doesn't draw that much, so and Caramel probably helps as well. But usually, when by the time you play him, you have maybe one, two cards in hand. So yeah, you're gonna be able to cycle a bit, but not by five or six. That there you literally dump your hand.
Actually, you sometimes you cycle for like 3 or 4 quite reliably
Yeah,
when
with
you
that version probably.
yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like with the other versions, usually by the time you play a full cost Trem, because you don't really reduce the cost, he doesn't shift.
uh, yeah. The thing is that in this deck, like we're talking about Chernobog, it's almost always free.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like almost always.
Like Yzma draws and discards, and you still have your Tramp as like a removal spell.
Yeah.
Basically, your Tramps and your Crickies.
And you have some go-go's to cheese a win on like out of nowhere if you need to. Like you
Yeah, no,
have
the list's interesting for sure.
you have the Lilos that come back also that you have proactive advantage on pitching with your Yzma or with whatever you or with your tramp, your turn drop tramp.
As long as you don't turn a bug them back into the deck too fast.
Yeah, well, Chernobog is the haymaker. You
Yeah,
really
yeah,
want to
yeah.
drop him and try and win from there.
That's fair. Because if it's unanswered at three per turn, it will close the game on its own.
Yeah, it's just huge. So like I'm excited about the deck because it's like probably the most innovative thing that I've seen for a while in terms of deck. I still want to see people trying like red steel and coming up with like wonky color combinations like
Like I'll be curious to retry Red Steel Challenge because I genuinely feel that the slight departure from blue might have opened up possibilities on that front. So we'll see.
yeah, I remember saying that like the main reason why like we came up with the deck in like week 1, right? We
Yep,
played it and we were excited about it. The thing is the tier 0 deck was
it
blue
didn't beat the
steel.
combo.
Yeah, it was not doing anything against blue steel, so you were just like, okay, just put it on the shelf and like wait for it to do something.
Yep. So we'll see. I might retry it at some point.
Yeah, well, what we might be doing also is like trying to keep a closer eye for the set championship season that is starting like really
Two
soon.
weeks from
Like
now.
yeah, 2 weeks. So like we have our 2K and like we're eating good here in Quebec, like having a big event leading into the set championship season.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited with by what's happening. Like I'll try to have some like data info and whatnot to bring back here and just give to people. Like we're like generally we're looking at the big competitions from the United States because that's where they happen. Like we're privileged enough to be able to have one here locally, and probably not a lot of people are going to talk about it as much as I think there's another big event
There's
in
another big one
Arkansas.
in Ontario, like at the same time as ours. So there's another 2K happening at the same time.
Yeah, and there's a
There's going
big
to be
happening
two
in
big events.
Arkansas, if I remember correctly. I
Oh,
saw
okay, yeah.
that in the global group. So there's a lot of cool Lorcana being played, and like I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. I'm just so sad about the lack of communication. Like I've just stumbled upon 2 posts as we were like preparing
They
for.
fired the guy 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Give
yeah,
him time.
it's okay. I just want a bit of candy just to not feel so like
They've announced
Hungry.
that the people in Japan will have Paths to World. They've announced that more regions are joining with the arrival of Fabled. There are news coming. I know that we all want the world's information to come like sooner rather than later, but with the thing when you hire like directors and people heads of whatever is then you need to give them a few weeks to set stuff. You cannot just go like, oh, the guy came in, big announcement that they haven't worked on or put their spin on in a way or another. So it's
Yeah,
gonna come.
and I like your take on that a lot. Coming from more, I want to say, corporate
Oh yeah.
background than I am. Like, I'm coming more from like the community part of the thing, and like it's really hard when you hear a lot of the complaining from the people, and like you kind of agree
Oh yeah.
yourself, and
Like
like
I would love news as much as anyone else, but yeah, having worked corporate all my life, I also know how these things work. They took the decision to go bring it in house with the app, hire someone to be head of competitive. That's a good move on their end, but now that person needs to arrive, look at what's going on, make a strategy, communicate it inside, have it stamped by Disney, and then they're going to be able to come out with something.
yeah, it's that's the thing. Like, the game is so young that any stretch of time seems long. Like, if we were like Magic, that we've like they've been around for 30 years. So if you want to take a few like weeks off to just take a step back and figure some stuff out, no one's gonna bat an eye. But now you look at a 1 year old game, it's normal that people are restless. Like, and
Oh
some people,
yeah.
it's like their first TCG. Like, I'm having that discourse, and I'm used to Magic. So
Magic, who killed the Grand Prix, brought back the Grand Prix, decided that it's no longer Grand Prix, but they're really Grand Prix.
yeah, like these kind of things. But also, I gotta give props where props are due. Like, tonight, I've ran my first event into the new platform from Ravensburger, the card.e.io, whatever the name is,
Yeah,
and like the program still has flaws because it's not like it's still kind of a beta-ish kind of thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
still in maintenance for the users. Only the stores
I
and the
can
staff
confirm.
can only the stores and the staff can use that. But the it's very visually pleasing. It's very easy to use. Like, it's the most friendly user UI that I've been given to use in 10 years. And
To
this is
run
saying,
like this kind of event.
yeah, like it's not like Melee. I said Melee is great. Melee is great if you know exactly
Yeah,
what you're doing with it.
Melee is great if you know what you're doing and where you're going.
Exactly. That's why I loved it, because I learned how to use it, but like people ask me a lot about Melee, how to
We've seen it
navigate
with
it.
the rise of Lorcana. A lot of stores who never ran events started running Lorcana events, were pushed onto Melee, and then rounds were starting, and they were like, okay, how do I go into like top cut? Oh, I haven't scheduled the top cut. What do I do now?
Oh, I
Like,
can schedule it now. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the new platform is really really easy. Like, everything is clickable. Everything is very colorful. People are gonna have a breeze learning about it. Like, I'm used to it, and I do a lot of it, and it's normal that it was so easy. But I can fathom how people that are not as savvy with those kind of things are just gonna be able to pick it up so easily as soon as some of the things will just be more clarified, and probably features will be added, because some features were lacking. But I was kind of, you know uh, I was just realizing that, okay, that's a feature that they have left unmade for a reason as of now.
yeah, they'll get there. Still, like I understand the gripe of people figuring out, oh, it's built on top of 30 plus years of card game. They should be able to pick it up from there. They should be able to do what's already been done. You still want to do your homeworks. You still like, there's a lot of TCGs, a lot of variations on the rules, a lot of variations on tournaments. And yeah, corporate doesn't move fast. Even in a privately owned company like Ravensburger, when you want to do things right in bigger environments, it takes time. And I know that especially for people used to the environment of shops, like usually a lot of card shops are privately owned, like their local game store. There is a name and that there's a reason for that. At a local front, when you have, let's say, under 50 employees for the sake of discussion, it's very easy to take a decision, implement it, have it be ready, and have it be run in the same week.
Yeah.
Like leadership to employees is really, really close. And yeah, if it doesn't work, we'll pivot back. We'll figure it out. It's okay. When you're at a larger scale, you don't want to do that as much, and you have to sift through, is this a real concern, or is it just the four people on Reddit who scream really loud and seems like everyone's mad about it?
Yeah.
And that takes time as well.
Because I don't think people are mad right now. I just think people, like I said, are starved for events, and that
Oh, yeah.
and that is just what's happening. People will be very happy when, if it is done correctly, for sure. But they will be just so happy when season 2 of DLCs will, or whatever it will be announced.
Yep.
And like, I'm very hopeful about it. I can like get some downs about it from time to time, but I'm still also trying to be positive, which is out of character for me in some like I'm not the most optimistic person ever. Like, I'm more of a doomsayer than whatnot in
Yeah.
general. But I'm really trying to be positive with Lorcana because I think it's a great hobby. They have like, I want to say, a literal gold mine on their hand.
They have a good product. They have a good solution. And for all the flaws that they've had and all the mistakes that they've made, I think no one in the community can say that they're not genuinely invested in making it the best that they can. And to me, that speaks the most, especially when compared to Wizards of the Coast, who is running Magic into the pure capitalistic, like, ad revenue. We don't really care about what players think. It's just, money.
It's been really clear. Like, we've had some like budget info about Wizards lately, and like, it's been made very clear that this is their focus.
Yeah.
Like, they're already patting themselves on the back for the release of their next set, which is a big IP set, namely Final Fantasy. Like, it's already the most sold set in the history of the game.
Yeah.
And it hasn't released.
Yeah. But, like, regardless of the details of that, like, a lot of people feel like the soul of the game has left. And even though organization's great, the Grand Prix are there, the communications, like, yeah, but the company doesn't care.
Well,
Doesn't feel like it cares as much.
It's-
I feel with Ravensburger, it's a bit of the opposite.
And-
No one can say the company doesn't care.
and that's the reason, like, I'm so enfranchised with this game right now. It feels like the time when I started Magic about 10 years ago, when like being a pro player, grinding Grand Prix and everything meant something. And like, the company, like, I remember they had someone that was hired to be like the player liaison. Like, it felt like they were really close to their players, close to their community, and they wanted it felt organic. That's what
Yeah.
I want to say. Now it's like, it's colder and more distant, and this is the thing that I have to give to Ravensburger. It feels warmer. It feels more human.
I mean, the fact that in I'm sorry that we keep going back to Magic, but it's the thing we have that's closest to both of our experiences. But in Magic, the main face of communications for public is the lead designer. So it's basically Steve Warner if we were talking about Lorcana. They
Yeah,
don't have Rochelle
yeah,
in Magic. They don't have like any of that environment anymore where there's someone on Discord that everyone knows is the person for community relation and that is actually going to answer messages if you message them on Discord.
exactly.
Like that says a lot to me regarding how the company's handling this.
Yeah. Well, that it comes back to my point of like the more human side of the thing against like the coldest, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
more closed back side of of the thing. Like it's those are two valid ways of running your things, but that
Oh yeah.
there's a way that the response for Lorcana is so vivid. I want to say, like I can understand why the response and whatnot is the way it is in Magic. It's been there for 30 years. People are very enfranchised. But to see people that enfranchised about a game that is 1 year old too soon,
1.5, yeah.
yeah. Well,
But no,
it's
like
very nice to see.
to me the biggest example and the biggest like the most encouraging thing when looking at Lorcana and specifically its organized play is I was having a friend in town who wanted to learn about the game. And we went on Tuesday during the league, and we sat down at a table next to the people playing and just explained the game, ran a few games. And at the end of the night, they looked at me and they were like, I wonder if there's a game store running League in my area. I'd really like to go. They're first TCG, not a card player, not someone who is stereotypically a card player either. And their takeaway after an hour and a half of playing Lorcana is, okay, cool. I want to find a league in my area that I can play with.
I want to
At.
play more. I want more of this.
I want more of this, but I want more of this like in the OP setting, which is something that a lot of games are having a hard time with making people do. Even bigger games like Magic. Your the biggest player base is the people who play at home.
Yeah.
They don't go to league, they don't go to tournaments, they don't go to
Yeah, that like and coming from like a LGS point of view, the only way we have to fill the room on any given day is to kind of recreate that feeling. Like I I'm gonna be quite honest here. Our biggest day in the week is Friday, where we do an all day commander day. It's free. You just sit down and play, and we have a few raffles during the day. And like it's still totally free. We just like give stuff to say thank you to
yeah.
people to go for coming and play. But it's like it's as close as recreating that feeling of like
That at home environment of
yeah,
just
playing around the
getting
kitchen
with friends
table.
and playing a game.
Yeah, and I,
All
and
right. Anyways, we're gonna cut it here. Enough rambling.
we rambled off of the metagame so much.
Yeah. If you're still here, thanks for staying with us. We might even have cut some of it. We'll see. But no, thanks for being here with us. Thanks for joining us on this review of the new meta following the Hiram bans. Hopefully, you have a better idea of what to start your set championship journey with. We're gonna keep you updated as the first set championships come out, if anything develops on the meta front.
I'll try to
But
have a bit of a tournament report on what's happening in at the 2K this
yeah, yeah,
weekend.
yeah. We'll come back in the 2Ks as well, the various ones that are happening this weekend. And until then, I mean, we're gonna see you guys in the stores playing, and just keep questing.